Welcome back, everybody, to the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. My name is Milan.
My name is Pia.
And today we're going to do our F1 Academy 2024
recap.
So this is the second F1 Academy season. However, it's the first one we all get to watch, unless you were there, I think, last year in person, maybe. You might have been able to.
Because coverage was different last year, yes.
Exactly. It was different coverage. And I will say, what a fantastic series. I truly enjoyed watching F1 Academy. We had a total of 14 races.
Yes.
Over
7 rounds.
So they do 2 races per weekend.
Yes.
And they started this year in Jeddah at the beginning of March.
Yes.
Which Jeddah was the second race of the year, I think. Or was it the first?
For the men's, I think it was not the first one. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it was the second one.
Yeah. But also just to point out, for F1 Academy, the women drivers are only allowed to participate for 2 seasons in it, because this is just meant for a stepping stone to get them ready to move up to either F3 or something in similar difficulty or similar vehicles. So this is just to get them ready for the next step, to get them exposure, to get them sponsorships, to even maybe potentially pay if they win for the next step. For example, the winner of the 2024 season got a full ride for the GB3 season of 2025. And I mean, which is huge, because if you're a motorsport fan, you already know. If you are a motorsport rider, racer yourself, you for sure know that racing is incredibly expensive.
Yes, just to reiterate, when they travel all around the world, it is not paid for. They have to pay for their own lodging, for their own travels and stuff like, unless of course they have a sponsor.
Yes.
But if not, that is all coming out of your pocket. And while it sounds of course awesome that you get to race in Jeddah and then in Miami and then in Barcelona and then in the Netherlands, that is all money that you have to come up with.
Yeah.
You have to pay for your own coach and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a lot of money that you have to spend on. And of course, the F1 Academy is not the only championship people might participate in. There's a lot of other drivers that participated, for example, in the F4 British Championship.
Yeah, or FRECA, or
FRECA, yeah.
endurance championships. I mean, there's lots of racing going on, because this is only, like you had said, it's 7 rounds, it's 14 races, it's 7 weekends of the year. So there's a lot more other racing opportunities, but everything else also costs money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was our very first season of really following the F1 Academy. We watched it through F1 TV. And I do have to say also the coverage was great. I really enjoyed it. The racing itself was so much fun. And I also love to see the growth of these women.
Absolutely. So for anyone that doesn't know, they're all riding in equal machinery, but the setups are different. The setups are individually done by the team and by the driver, however they prefer it.
Yes.
And they are in essentially F4 cars.
Yes.
So that means they go really fast, but they don't have DRS yet. That is usually introduced in Formula 3 cars. But I think also the big thing is that you had a lot of women in cars that actually have never driven or raced in open wheel cars. And this also goes specifically, for example, Dorian Pain, who came in second in the Drivers' Championship. She had only done tin top racing, so only GT cars.
Yeah.
She was supposed to participate in Le Mans this year. If she would have not broken a few ribs leading up to that, she would have participated in that. So she never had any experience in those type of cars, and she did phenomenally well.
Yeah, it was, I mean, yeah, it's really fun to see. It's also nice to get to know all these different women, because then suddenly you watch F3, or not F3, you watch F4 or something else, and you're like, oh, there's Dorian, or there's Abby, and then seeing that
there's Chloe and stuff like that.
So that was really nice to see. Of course.
Yeah, this goes in general. If you start watching a lot of different championships, you're like, oh, I know this guy from here, I know this person from there. So this is really awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely
a lot of
mixing
overlapping.
And mingling. Yeah, exactly. But of course, overall, if you were following F1 Academy, or if you watched any of our videos, you probably already know by now that F1 Academy's winner of 2024 is Abby Pulling. Deservedly so. She definitely dominated the season. She was, out of 14 races, she won 9 of those races, but she was on the podium every single time. And how beautiful is that? Because also, not only, I mean, of course, she raced beautifully. She a lot of times she started on pole and she just raced her own race. There was not very often there was contention necessarily for her first spot because she was able to just race away, being ahead of the pack.
She controlled the race from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. She also did some very beautiful safety car restarts. But the beautiful thing is also, like we said, racing is very expensive. And Abby Pauling previously had to end seasons short just because of funding. So now, knowing that she already has a guaranteed paid season for GB3 ahead of her for 2025, it's just so nice. And you could see it at her celebration. So relieved that she already knows she has a seat, she has racing ahead of her for 2025, and she has a little bit less to worry about in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, Abby did an absolute excellent job, just like in every other league also. But I just love seeing the passion, the drive from all of the women, and just like how hard they fight for it. There was lots of great on track action, lots of great battles. We had a couple crashes, of course, too, like spins and things, normal things. But it was just really, they all gave it their all, as they should, and how you wouldn't expect anything less than that.
Yes, absolutely. And also for reference, Abby also did a significant increase from last year. Last year, she finished the season in P5. And this year, she won with 121 points ahead of the second place. So that's a huge, also it means that she put in the work and she put in the progress. And you can just tell that she was also, at some point, she was just so on fire. She ended up winning in F1 Academy. Then she went to F4,
the British
Championship. She won a race there. Then she
as
came
the very first woman to win a race there too.
Exactly. And then she came back and she ended up winning again. So she had just a phenomenal season. And it's, first of all, it's really awesome that we got to witness it. And then we get to see her race next year. And then I've talked about this in a different video. And I think it was our last recap for the F1 Academy for the last round. It was so interesting because Dorian came out in the season and she got double pole and technically won both races, the first two races.
But it was such a interesting, frustrating, but also fun start of the season. Before you continue with your point, just in case people missed that. So the first race was in Jeddah. We had the two races. Like you said, Dorian came out on fire. Her first races as a single seat open wheel racer. She won both races, like by a decent margin as well. However, one of the race, I think it was the first race.
Was the second race.
Was it the second race? Her team was celebrating and they didn't communicate with her that the race was over, because there was also the person who was waving the checkered flag was waving it really weird.
It was kind of obstructed. And then for reference, if you are someone who watches this and who has never watched a race or even raced a race, I have never raced on track, but I've raced in a sim before. Like I have a sim set up here at home and in the studio, I mean. And it's like, you don't know if you're racing. I don't know what lap I'm on. Someone will tell me and then I'm like, oh, okay, white flag. I know I have one more to go. But if no one tells you that, most of the time you're so focused on what you're doing and like, you know, making sure you get your braking point and then, you know, is there anyone in my rear view mirror, whatever, you know.
So then the issue was that the checkered flag was waved, she crossed the finish line, but she kept racing.
She did two more laps.
She didn't know, and her team, you could hear them celebrating, you could see them on camera celebrating, but nobody told her, so she kept racing. And because she was at full speed still, as people were slowing down and the race was officially already over,
which after the race is over, you are supposed to, the next lap, you're supposed to hit a certain delta. So you have to stay within a certain like speed, so you are not like potentially endangering anyone who also will come on track. So she was exceeding that by a lap because she was going full speed and she didn't realize that the race was over.
So she was penalized for it, which was so frustrating. Such a interesting but also so frustrating start, because it's such a silly mistake.
It's so avoidable.
Not her fault at all. I definitely blame her team. They got a little bit too excited too soon, which I get the excitement, especially if your driver double win right at the first race.
Double pole, double win. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, it was such a fun start of the season. But you were saying
exactly.
Else.
So then this all happened and Dorian came out with this huge performance and everyone was like, oh my God, Dorian. Dorian, the pocket rocket,
Yeah.
and well deserved, right?
Yes.
And there's so much like attention around her.
Yeah.
It does also help that she is an Iron Dames driver, which
Yes.
the Iron Dames are an all-female racing team that is a or a sister of the Iron Lynx.
Yes, correct.
And they are very, very successful.
Yes.
So she's part of their racing.
Yeah, you can see them very often in like endurance racing. They have the very bright pink car. They also have a horse riding team, which I think is incredible.
Yes.
And also in rally, in karting, but like usually visually you can recognize them by their very bright pink livery.
Yes. And then so she got all this attention, but then after that weekend, essentially, like Abby went on this complete dominance in F1 Academy. And I always thought that, like, of course, I want Dorian to get her flowers, but I always thought that Abby didn't get as much attention because she didn't have the first breakout weekend like that. Because this was obviously the first time F1 Academy was broadcast. And then, of course, for them to make such a horrendous mistake is, of course, really, really bad. But I always felt like a little bit like, oh, I hope that people are also seeing what Abby is doing out there, because like give this woman sponsorships, put her in cars, because homegirl is fast.
And I don't think anybody now could have missed Abby, because she was just such a dominant force. But not only her, I mean, we saw some really beautiful performances also from Chloe Chambers, the American rider. She was the ever first person to win on a Haas. Let's just point that out.
Yes, she won in Barcelona.
Yeah, exactly.
She won the race. Fantastic performance by her as well.
It was so much fun to watch. It's nice to see.
Next year, she will actually be leaving from Haas and she's going to the Red Bull team.
Yes, correct. She will be sponsored by Red Bull.
Yeah, so really, really awesome too for her.
We also saw some great racing. I mean, from all the women, especially also the wild cards. For every race, they invite a more or less local wild card. And so, like, for example, Nina Gademan really stood out to us last year. She was the wild card for the Netherlands, and she's joining the grid now in 2025 because she did such an excellent job. A lot of times those wild cards ended up in the points because they did a great job. And it's also,
and the teams are helping them acclimate to everything.
Yeah, but I also wanted to just point out they don't get as much time in the car. They have a little bit of time in the car, and of course some of the other women, they're there for the whole season, so they had a little bit more time in it. So it's just really I have a lot of respect for them because they have such little time, and then they still make it into the points. They do a great performance. Also, we've been talking a lot about Leah Block this season. She's really improved throughout the season.
A lot.
And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing her next season, to see how that's going to change. I think next season, at least I'm hoping, but I also wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit more of a battle also for first place next season, because a lot of these women now have more experience with the car.
Then you have, sorry, about Leah real quick. Leah is 17 and she has never raced in an open wheeler. And she actually last year she won a championship, but it was for off-road racing.
Yeah.
So there is, of course, some overlap, but there's very limited overlap on how you also approach, how you race these cars.
But we also saw that throughout the season. Like at the beginning of the season, Jeddah, Miami, we saw a lot of crashes on track. But then towards the end of the season, there was still great battling going on, and very close, very close battling. However, I think
but fair.
Yeah. Oh, yes, 100%. But then the women just had a little bit better of an understanding of maybe also the car's dimensions, how much they can push, and things, so that the crash number, I would say, I mean, that's my statistic as like an observer. I think the number of crashes or incidents,
safety cars also went down
quite a lot, but there was still great battling on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also one person I wanted to point out, also Maya Wig, who was also new to open wheel racing. She is the one in the Ferrari. She's also the first person to ever win in at the Yas Marina circuit
as a Ferrari driver.
So huge. And she was always like the bridesmaid, never the bride. And then she ended up winning the race, and she did fantastic. And I think her and Dorian and Leah and Chloe, there's a lot of people. I'm very excited to see what they have in store for us next season, because they will put in a lot of work, probably in the off season.
And
a lot of them
I was waiting for my in to say my next thing.
And a lot of them also some of them are switching teams, but a lot of them, they are coming back, and we already know that.
Yes.
So that is really, really exciting.
Yes. And what's also really exciting is, of course, like we have people coming back, we have new people joining, and we also have another team joining.
Yes.
So we will have another 3 cars on the grid. So we go from 15 cars to 18 cars on the grid. So more opportunities for those women to get more experience, to get more money, to get sponsorships, to be seen, to have opportunities for the future. And it just makes me so excited because I cannot wait for the day for us to have a F1 driver that's female on the track, like full time again.
I think it's going to be a while.
Of
but
course,
I
of
think
course. But these are like the little stepping
especially
stones.
because like I will say, like, I think some of them are already a little bit too old at this point, I think. But maybe someone who's a little bit younger than Leah, like that is right there, the time frame, right? Usually they join the F1 grid in their early 20s. However, of course it can happen a little bit later. And sometimes also, especially if you're gonna bring a woman on the F1 grid, you want to make sure that she is as ready as she can be,
100%.
because the scrutiny and the expectation will be so high.
Agreed.
Because they will be expecting like a Lewis Hamilton. But even if she would be like an Alex Albon, it would be good.
But even if she would
not to put down Alex Albon, but we're talking about someone who's won the championship like 4 times. Compared to not yet.
No, for sure. And then but it's also like, even if whoever the female driver would be a Lewis Hamilton, they would never be seen as the Lewis Hamilton until, of course, they prove themselves.
Yeah, of course, and that's fair.
Extra.
And they have to. You have to prove yourself. You know.
No, of course, but I think women also will have to prove themselves even more. But that's just life, unfortunately. But I mean, it just makes me excited that this opportunity is there for them. They're getting so much more attention now, especially because there's better coverage now. They're racing alongside Formula One, and
you, for example, you see also familiar faces on the side of the grid. Like you see a lot Zach Brown showing up, and showing his showing up for support for Bianca Bustamante, who is currently the
McLaren driver.
I'm not sure if she's returning next year.
I don't know. There's still lots of open seats. Lots
of
people haven't
we
been
know for sure
who's
leaving Abby Pulling, not only because she won the championship, but also this is her 2nd year. We know that
Nerea Marti is leaving.
Hamna Al-Kabezi, I think her sister Amna Al-Kabezi is also leaving. So there's definitely a few that are leaving, and there's a bunch of seats that are opening up. So we'll be very excited to see who gets a shot to fill those seats.
Yes, but I also wanted to just touch on what you were saying. Not only is Zach Brown there, but we also have what's his name, Stefano Domenicali, the head of.
I'm pretty sure I saw Christian Horner.
Yeah, he was there, and then also some of the F1 drivers come and support. I think we've seen Lewis there. Ocon was talking very highly of Abby also. Like, I love that people are aware of those women, deservedly so, of course, and they talk about it. They're now a part of the conversation.
And I think also you have to give a big shout out to Susie Wolf to pull this all together.
Yes.
And I know that there was a lot of scrutiny also, like people were saying like, well, F1 Academy last year, well, if they're not showing it, how bad is the racing, you know? And of course you don't know what you don't know, right? But clearly we can see that there's a lot of passion, and the good thing is it's not also only about women racers. It is also about helping women maybe getting positions as like their engineers and stuff.
Like in the garage, on the pit wall.
Because we see, for example, in F1 we have Ruth now, who is who used to be a strategist for a team, the head strategist, and she's now a commentator, and her input is so invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, it's I love, and I've said it on the video before. Yeah, exactly. I love her input. Like, the information that she shares is just so interesting also, and it just also it's almost like not palpable is the right word, but it's like it helps me understand things even more, and like,
or the decisions teams are making,
exactly, or they're thinking and stuff like that. So I love that. But like, yes, you're absolutely right. F1 Academy is not just for the drivers, but it's for all the different positions that women also have, because a lot of times you see women in like PR and those kinds
marketing
of
and stuff like
those
that.
kinds of positions, but F1 Academy gives opportunities to women in every single position. And when you watch it, you see women everywhere. Like a lot of like Abby's racing trainer is a woman, and like it's just really cool to see, and it gives I think a lot of hope to a lot of women out there who want to be in motorsports, that there is a place for you.
Yeah, and once again, I just wanted to highlight again that Susie Wolf, you know, of course she didn't do it by herself.
Yes.
But she pull this together, to get teams behind it, to get sponsorship behind it. This is an official FIA sanctioned championship, and in expanding next year, we are switching up some of the tracks, and I think they're switching it also to tracks that are more favorable for the cars, to give more overtaking opportunities. So next year we will be kicking off the season a little bit later. It will start at the towards the end of March, so March 21st in China. Then we'll continue on in Jeddah. So they did the whole mix up in the F1 calendar as well, to avoid races have to be raced on
Saturday due to Ramadan.
Due to Ramadan, exactly. So they already mixed things around. So we first are going to China, then we're going to Jeddah, then it will be racing in Miami again. Then we'll be racing in Canada,
which is new also.
Canada is the new one. Then Netherlands, we already had Zandvoort this year. And then we'll be going in Singapore, which is also new. It's same. We already had this year. And then this year, next year, however, they will be finishing the season in
Vegas. Which is going to be interesting, because this year they ended it at the Yas Marina circuit. However, next year they will be ending it in Vegas, which is going to be interesting. So
I thought the Yas Marina circuit was also quite favorable for the cars, because you can get a lot of
I thought so too. That's why I was surprised that they changed it. But I'm curious to see how they will fare next season. I'm personally very excited. I mean, I'm sure you could tell by the video that we're both thrilled about F1 Academy. We're passionate about what we've seen this season, and we're very much looking forward what we will be seeing next year. I'm also excited to see where else we will be seeing these women racing. And I think this is great. And I think like you said, Susie and everybody around her, everybody did a great job. It's so fun to watch, and I like that it's accessible now for people to watch as well. And I can't wait to see what comes, or how it will grow in the future as well.
Yep, and I think that's all we have to say.
Yeah, let us know if you watched F1 Academy at all this season, or maybe if you watched only a couple.
Who you were supporting.
Yes.
Let us know in the comments. And then, as always, like and subscribe. Yes. And we will be seeing you guys here soon with another recap, most likely.
Sounds good.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.